Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Monday. It's March 24th. This will be our chart lesson today. And starting out, just taking a quick look at our daily chart. It looks like we're still headed to that measured move there. You can see this is the midline, and it looks like we might have closed through that. But if we push up for another day, this may turn up a little bit. It may end up that we close right at it. We'll have to see. Now we could keep going here. We could make two legs up. We could get back up. We could trade up to the upper side of the bands again. It wouldn't surprise me. We were so oversold. This thing was so negative for a little bit. We were overdue for a correction, and we've already tested this breakout area. You can see right there, but we may come back and test that again and see if that holds. There's a huge gap here. I'm surprised we didn't turn back down and try to fill that gap today. So that's promising as far as the upside. But on this shorter term channel, we do have a break in new high now. Now sometimes you'll get two legs. Maybe there's a bigger channel here, and this is just a temporary, like a more of a micro channel on a daily chart, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We don't have enough price action to know yet. But this was a very big rally day. I mean, we were up. I mean, just from the high to the close today is about 90 points, and high to high was over 100. It was 100 points, a little over 100 points. And if you started from the close to the high, it's not much more, maybe 6 more points. Um, so it's pretty promising, but there is that gap there, and those gaps, the chart does not like gaps. They like to fill them. So I'll be surprised if we don't come back and fill that gap. But needless to say, today was very promising, very bullish. Um, but just looking at this chart, I'm not convinced we're going to get a lot of. I'm not saying we can't get follow through, but we've got a break in a new high. It wouldn't surprise me if we turn back down tomorrow and fill that gap. But again, it wouldn't surprise me if we continue to push towards this measured move and even to maybe test this breakout here. So those are all the possibilities. So I mean, the market could still go in any direction, but that's certainly a positive day and a little encouraging. But anyway, let's flip over to the 2,000 tick chart. Looks much the same, pretty much up all day, and we'll take a look at that and work through the trades, and we'll wrap the day up. Okay, here it is. Turn that off, and you can see that this is a good example of what happens when you get a really strong trend day. You have this trend working up, but it's a little steep. A good trend is a 45-degree angle, meaning it'll go from corner to corner of your screen. That's a more healthy angle, and you can see that we got a little break here and then went into this healthier trend, and we quickly got a break of that. Then we corrected it, and then we started a new trend into the close. And so there were really three different legs of this trend today, and pretty good trading day. They were some fairly straightforward trades, not a ton of them, but they're all fairly straightforward. So we'll zoom in here and we'll go through these trades. You had to be a little patient. 7 o'clock came as we're kind of chopping around in here, and I don't think you want to go long there. It's you might call that a double bottom, but there's not a lot of room back to the highs there. It would have worked, but I don't think you want to go long there. There's no good setup really to say you're taking there. Then we broke out and turned down. I don't think we did get a break and two legs up. So that's an engulfing bar. I'd wait on a lower high, and we just don't really get one. The next thing you know, we fell out the bottom. The problem is you might argue there's a close and new low there, and that would be a second entry long, but that doesn't. I mean, you might argue even you could see two legs there, so that's a possibility. I'm not crazy about it. I'd wait for the higher low. It did move a measured move too. You can see how wide that is. We moved almost to the tick. But there's your little higher low, still a good bit away from the EMA. That's the one to take if you can get in it. And you probably would have got a runner on that. And that thing takes off. Then we get a break in new high, and then it continues to kind of chop higher before we finally turn down and correct it. And notice you got this channel working down. You get a break here, couple of swings to a new low. Um, Maybe you go long there. I mean, that's real close to being blue. But with all those swings down, it made me nervous that you might get another swing. So to be sure, you wait on the high or low, and there it comes, and then you're in a trade and it takes off, and you probably get another runner here. That's a good thing about all these trades. A lot of them are set up for runners. You wouldn't have got a runner on this one, and you may not have even got in this because it gaps over and runs up, and so you may not have been able to get into the high or low formed anyway. Then we run up again, close outside new high, but you can't really go short yet because we're in this big uptrend, and we're in the secondary part of it. So I think you just got to kind of wait on longs at this point until we get a break and a new high. So and then of course now we're working down. You get a close outside, a couple of swings to a new low and a new high. Now there's also multiple tests down here. There's a triple. You might have even looked at this as a somewhat of a range with the failed breakout down here and then getting back inside. So you could look at it like that. There's still a trend down, a break and new low, and then a second entry long and a high and a higher low. You can call that high or low. Or you could just say, hey, there's multiple tests, a little failed breakout and then a higher low there on that. And again, it just takes off. So you probably get a runner here, and then we're just kind of chopping sideways again. I don't think you want to go short up here or anything. And you get another failed breakout. And there are two legs back. So it's a second entry long. I mean, I think you could argue that it's a range, but you can't deny that there's a trend channel with a break and new low too. So I think you could go ahead and just go short, or I'm sorry, long right there. And again, it's a nice entry, and you probably get a runner on it. And so now we got the break and two legs up, and we finally get a larger correction here. And we got a correction working down, break it, and then new low, and another new low. There, actually, if you count from this side, it's a first entry, and then a break above there is a second entry. I didn't like it because it was so congested, and we didn't break above it there. So we didn't break above until that inside bar. And then it comes back and it looks like, hey, we're going to get a triple test. We can get in here, and you don't really get a setup. Somebody asked me about that setup. I don't like it. I don't think it's wise to go to the next bar like that. You can clearly see there's a triple test, but this is clearly the signal bar. Now, if you'd had two bar matching high there, or this had a matching low, maybe you could still use that then, and so maybe you go along there, but you don't have that there. You're basically, by going long there, you're trying to manufacture an entry. And of course it works, but a lot of times it's going to fail on you and you're going to regret that. So, but it runs up, close outside, move to a new high. And I think that's like a first, second, third entry. So you need a lower high here, which you get one, and you're still way away from the EMA. Very nice bearish bar. I like that one. Comes back here, it's just a first entry, and you don't want to use that for a signal bar, and that one's too bullish. So then we do drop on down, but you're kind of chopping sideways, and you can see there's a 1, 2, 3 triple test. Now this did make a higher high here, but it closes back inside the range, and so we've got a bigger downtrend. So I like that one. You got plenty of room to get out, and this thing just kind of drops. The bottom just kind of falls out of it. Now, you might consider going long here. I didn't mark this one. The problem is it could hit that resistance if it closed back inside. But I just didn't like it. You might argue for it to be green because it is a higher low. But we're in a bigger downtrend, so you need to really be looking for shorts here. This would have worked. Maybe you try it, but I just think it's risky. And, of course, you run down. You make another new low, and now you're working up, and you get a first entry. Now, we do close outside and get a new high there, and it does close inside the trend line. So, again, that's a possibility. But I think you're better off waiting on a lower high, and when you do, you get a second entry short as well. and you can see it tests that. You get a couple more tests of that trend line, and it's holding. So that's where you're better off to go short. And these are all just choppy first entries all the way down. Now there is a second entry here, and again I didn't mark it. I think it would have worked if you took it, but it's just not a smart trade to take. No, you don't get but 3 ticks there. So if you took that, you took a loser. But you can just see how it's just a first entry. It looks like 2 legs back, but we weren't able to get to the low here, and we couldn't get there anywhere down here, and we couldn't get there here, and we're closing back inside the midline. So that's not a good sign that we're going to go lower. So that one is really risky. And it is a second entry, but you can clearly see the congestion there. And if you took it, well, guess what? It's a failure. And we do get the break. And there's a close outside the new high here, but I would say wait on the lower high. That's not a perfect signal bar either. So I think you got to wait. And you get it here, and you still don't have a new high. We try to make another new high again, but now you clearly got at least a triple test and a big signal bar. I like going short there. Unfortunately, you don't get a big runner or anything, but it does work. And then we run on down to a new high. I'm sorry, a new low. And then we start chopping sideways. Now, actually, we make this new low, and then you get a first entry and a second entry. And we still haven't got back to the EMA, and it looks a little congested, so I didn't mark it. I went ahead and pointed it out because I guarantee you somebody saw a second entry there and they took it. It would have worked. I'm pretty sure it works. And you can see it would have got exactly 4 ticks, not a tick more. So if you went for 8 ticks or you tried to do some kind of 1-for-1, you would have had to go for 8 here. And so you would have got stopped out if you did a 1-for-1 or tried to go for 8 ticks or anything. But if you just went for your 4 ticks like we teach it, that would have still worked. So you could have made a mistake there. Even though I don't think that's a great entry, you could have made a mistake and still had a winner if you follow the rules. But if you try to fudge the rules, you had a loser there. And you can see it was just congestion until we finally broke lower. And then we tested this 3 times down here. If you'd had a good signal bar, I'd say go long here. Now notice these two make a 2-bar matching low right off that support. And this is a good signal bar. Maybe you take that one. I'll give you a green on that, but I still think you're better off to wait. And this thing just takes off. It doesn't give you a chance to wait. It pulls back first entry and makes another new high. And then you get a first entry, second entry. Now, it looks a little sideways, but there's plenty of room there back to these highs. So I think you could take that one. It's not the perfect signal bar either, but it probably does close in the upper 1/3. It's close. Maybe if it was 1 tick higher. I'm not sure. I marked it green. It's a possibility, but I'm not crazy about it. It works. It runs on up. It comes back, and you get another first entry, but there's no break of this or close outside. There's no high or low. It just takes off. And then we get up here and we start chopping sideways again. Now there's a triple test here, and this closes. It does make a new high, but it closes inside. And we're a good bit away from the EMA. We've been away from it since probably 146, and now it is 220 something, so we're way past time to come back. And this is not a super strong trend, so you might go short right there. I didn't feel comfortable this close to 230 making that red, but I think that's you got a pretty good chance of that getting a scalp out of that, coming back to the EMA, and that's exactly what it does before it pushes higher again. But it's well after 230 then. So if it wasn't after 230, that would have been a good entry there. And you'd have got another chance to get in it, but it's too late there. And so, again, I think that one's close to being red, but I think because we don't have a break of this trend up yet. And if you measure, I didn't measure the measured moves, but they look pretty doggone close. Yeah, you can see you pretty much got a measured move there. And if you take off all that stem, it's probably a perfect measured move. So you got it. That gives you another reason that you might go short right there. So anyway, I hope that hope you had a good. This was a fairly decent and easy trading day. So there's some really easy to spot trades. There's not a lot of them, but you don't need but one or two or three. And there were several runners on these, so I think it overall was a good trading day. And hope you had a good trading day. I forgot to talk about the news here. We skipped over that. I think I said there was news here maybe, but you can't enter in that. And that was the 8:45 a.m. PMI stuff. This other stuff is for tomorrow, so just forget that for now. But yeah, good trading day. Fairly easy day to maneuver and figure out. But hope you had a good trading day too. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Matt with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.